the story opens as terrifying giant pillars suddenly manifest out of thin air. At the same time, a barrier formed, and a purple beam of light erupted into the sky. Monsters, known as disaster beasts, invaded the human world. All sorts of creatures began to assail humanity. In the middle of the chaos, a father cried out for his son to run and save himself. Chaos ruled the streets as people fled for their lives. Suddenly, a blue, fiery monster turned toward the little boy. The blue, fiery creature then launched a fire attack at him and his mother. The woman sacrificed herself to protect her son, using her last words to urge him to escape immediately. Years later, Itsuki awoke from that nightmare to someone calling his name. A pink-haired girl asked what was wrong. He simply replied, "Nothing." The pink-haired girl kept staring suspiciously, checking on his condition again. She then noticed tears on Itsuki's face and asked why he was crying. A friend chimed in, pointing out their teacher's very strange clothes. The teacher began a speech about the Awakened and the war that occurred 10 years ago. A classmate questioned why Itsuki didn't know Commander Manhwa. It was then explained that the commander was the first Awakened in history. Furthermore, he is the strongest and has trained one of humanity's most renowned heroes. The teacher revealed that ordinary people could awaken just by touching the monolith. He then declared that everyone present would become awakened to fight in the war. On cue, a giant monolith began to emerge from the arena floor. The students cheered, ecstatic to finally get their chance to awaken. Itsuki's friend nudged him excitedly, and Itsuki said, "The time has finally come." As a line formed, his classmates pulled him along, so he wouldn't be left behind. The pink-haired girl noticed his grim expression. His eyes glowed red as he thought that the long-awaited day had arrived. One by one, the students touched the monolith, but nothing happened for the first person. The other students grew disappointed, as the one who tried was a top athlete. The line kept moving. More and more people tried, but no one managed to awaken. Everyone began to worry that no one from their school would pass. A guard then called the next name, a young man named Hikaru Yushi. Tension rose, as he was a known bully. If he awakened, it could spell big trouble. Upon touching the monolith, a massive amount of blue lightning enveloped Hikaru's body. A screen displayed his stats, an elementalist with a total of 12 points. The assistant commander commented that it should have been a 5, but the result was 12. Hikaru gloated before the commander, proud to be the first to awaken that day. Suddenly, someone grabbed his shoulder, pulling him away from the monolith. The bully spun around angrily, shouting at the person to let go and asking for a beatdown. The crowd recognized Itsuki, who had cut in line, and immediately assumed he was in for it. A blue-haired woman felt the strong emotions radiating from him. Itsuki touched the large rock, remembering the unforgettable hatred he felt toward those monsters. The commander realized this young man's determination was different. Suddenly, a giant blue entity appeared behind Itsuki. An incredible amount of energy surged from the monolith and completely enveloped his body. The wave of power spread to fill the entire arena. Students were stunned by the energy explosion that stretched for hundreds of feet. His friends immediately cheered, celebrating his awakening. The assistant explained this phenomena only occurs with the rarest class, Order Breaker. Meanwhile, Hikaru looked furious. Itsuki entered a mind realm, wondering if he had truly awakened. He saw himself sitting on a glowing blue lotus made of pure energy. A screen appeared displaying the class and ability of a Z-ranked character named Overmiss. But upon checking his statistics, all of his attributes were at 0. Moments later, the gift called Nirvana activated and all his stats jumped to 800. Itsuki smiled, confident he could now exterminate those monsters. Back in the real world, the light grew so bright that everyone shut their eyes. Slowly, the light subsided, revealing the young man's silhouette before the monolith. Hikaru Ushi couldn't believe what he was seeing. The blue-haired woman was shocked that a rookie possessed such high stats. Thus, the commander declared him the strongest awakened in history. The status screen displayed all attributes at 200. The crowd roared, celebrating the historic feat. But Hikaru Murka fumed, feeling his rightful glory had been stolen. Floating mid-air, surrounded by lightning, he taunted Itsuki, calling him a loser. Then, the bully unleashed a new skill, Silver Serpent, and activated his overmiss ability. As the attack neared, a high-speed analysis of his opponent's skills began. A bolt of lightning slammed into the ground, but the hero was gone. He vanished in the blink of an eye, leaving everyone wondering where he'd gone. A moment later, Itsuki appeared behind Hikaru, grabbing his head. He whispered that the bully was lucky to still be human, or he'd be nothing but a memory. With that, Itsuki stepped back as Hikaru collapsed, helpless. Itsuki noted the analysis was fast because the ability was only C rank. The analysis reached 100%, and he acquired the Thunder Wave skill. His friends saw his body glowing again. One joked it was a good thing they were wearing glasses. He realized that every completed analysis sends him to that inner space. The system screen showed the new ability's details and another 10-point stat increase. Back in reality, Itsuki glared down at the trembling bully. Terrified, Hikaru couldn't understand how his opponent had coppered his skill. Other students noted Itsuki's lightning was far stronger. He was shocked to see his stats had risen again. The total now reached 840. Suddenly, the sky darkened and a heavy rain began to fall. A moment later, the students saw something hurtling towards them. A massive black monolith was plummeting straight for the school. With the situation critical, the commander canceled the ceremony and ordered an evacuation. Believing he was the target, his blue-haired assistant suggested they retreat as well, since combat wasn't their specialty. But the commander refused, fearing it would cause a panic. He pointed to Itsuki, who stood his ground, and praised his courage. As everyone fled, the hero faced the monolith alone. The blue-haired woman wondered why he wasn't running for safety. The giant pillars slammed into the arena, kicking up a thick cloud of dust. His friends yelled for him to get out of there, that a disaster was imminent. But Itsuki declared with conviction, "I'll destroy them all." Riku and the girl warned that he could fall, being just a beginner. He looked at his friends and asked for their trust, making the pink-haired girl blush. Riku pulled her away, shouting, "Don't blame us if you don't make it." Itsuki just gave a sharp smile. This was his first real enemy as an awakened. Coincidentally, this creature was the same type that took his parents from him. The system screen displayed the skeleton warrior's stats, a total of 295 points. Itsuki was ready to test his newly acquired abilities. He charged straight for the monster, resulting in a massive impact. With grim determination, he roared, "I won't let anyone perish before my eyes again." A lightning-wreathed fist slammed into the creature's chest. The impact was so powerful, the bone soldier was flung back and shattered into pieces. The assistant and her colleagues were stunned. A single punch had sent the monster flying that far. But the commander explained that despite its strength, the skeleton had two troublesome skills. One of them was bonfire, a fire that turns anyone it touches to ash. His friends screamed in despair as Itsuki's body was engulfed in blue flames. Meanwhile, Hikaru cackled madly, thinking his rival was about to be incinerated. But within the flames, his overmiss ability activated, analyzing the enemy's power. The blue-haired woman said even a level 10 awakened could be taken down by that attack. The commander lamented that such a genius might fall before reaching his potential. Amidst the searing heat, Itsuki's mind flashed back to his mother, consumed by those same blue flames to protect him. However, Commander Minwazumi believed the young man hadn't unleashed his full potential yet, that he still had an ace up his sleeve. Skill analysis reached 100%, the young man declared. The frame is now complete. A colleague felt a wave of hopelessness, thinking their newfound hope was an illusion. Suddenly, the blue lotus flowers reappeared. From the heart of the fire, Itsuki rose and wondered, "What ability will I gain this time?" The system screen displayed a new skill, Black Ice Wall, as all his stats were restored and increased. Soon, he returned to the inner space, floating inside the giant, glowing blue lotus. Hovering there, his body felt completely restored, his strength renewed for the coming battle. His friends erupted in cheers, unable to believe he was not only safe but fully recovered. The assistant commander was shocked, wondering if Itsuki had healing abilities. Given his class was still a mystery, curiosity arose about the limits of his recovery, even imagining if more serious wounds could be healed. Back in the arena, the skeleton warrior roared in anger, failing to understand why its fire attack had no effect. Just then, Itsuki revealed a new ability, covering his body in black ice armor to face the flames. With that, the blue flames that previously burned him now swirled around him harmlessly, showing off his new power. The ice armor, combined with the lightning he had copied earlier, made him immensely stronger. He then molded the ice into a dragon and launched it at full speed toward the skeleton warrior. Soon after, he created a giant sword of ice and lightning to finish the creature once and for all. The attack struck the skeleton soldier right in its center. The creature's body shattered into pieces in an instant, without even a moment to react. His classmates were shocked, seeing the movement's speed, which seemed like teleportation as it was too fast for the eye to follow. Even the assistant and the teacher were speechless, wondering if their young hero was truly a rookie. The armor slowly faded as they remarked on the skill's flexibility for both offense and defense. Not long after, Riku called his name to check on him amidst the chaos, hugging him in relief that victory was won. And the protagonist asks, "Where's SAO?" since he doesn't see her around. The classmates mention that the girl had been there, nearly in tears with worry. But she suddenly vanished and no one knows where she went. The hero scans the crowd, wondering if she's angry because he took such a huge risk in the fight. The blue-haired woman couldn't believe he had managed to defeat such a powerful monster. The commander ordered a cleanup of the area. Riku suggests that Seo might have gone to touch the monolith, afraid of being left behind, and feels there's no reason to worry. Suddenly, a mysterious voice called Itsuki's name from behind, startling him. When the protagonist turned, he came face to face with Commander Menazumi, who was staring at him with a serious expression. The other students watched from a distance, speculating if the commander was going to train him, although they thought it impossible. Riku, feeling awkward with the tension, said he would go find Seo as an excuse to get away. After that, the commander approached and stated in a firm voice that he was quite special. Itsuki was a bit confused by the compliment and asked what he meant by special. Menazumi explained that he could sense the young man's heart was completely filled with anger and hatred and wanted to know the reason why, the darkness the young man carried. The hero then revealed it all began 10 years ago when he lost both his parents to a disaster beast. Painful memories began to resurface. He pictured his childhood self crying in fear during the horrific attack. He said, "I almost lost my life, but an awakened one appeared just in time and saved me. In her final moments, my mother begged me to move forward and forge my own path." The little boy could only cry out desperately for his mother, completely lost. He blamed himself for what happened to his parents, but his guilt slowly twisted into uncontrollable rage. At that moment, seeing the being that was the source of all evil, he felt a deep hatred. His eyes glowed red as he vowed to one day avenge all the suffering. Back in the present, he finished his story, tears streaming from one eye as he promised to destroy every monster in existence. The commander asked him why he was still crying, even though his heart was filled with such hatred. The hero explained that since the tragedy, only his right eye cries, so he will never forget his hatred. Menazumi invited him to become his apprentice and join the Saviors League. He explained that this global organization consists of the strongest awakened who fight against the beast. These members, known as Saviors, receive special training and generous monthly rewards. However, he warned that these benefits aren't free, as they fight on the front lines to protect everyone. The protagonist declared he didn't care about rewards or resources, as other things were far more important. With a determined look, he clenched his fists and shouted that he wanted to become a savior and fight on the front lines. The commander explained that to achieve that rank, He must place in the top 100 in a tournament of over 1,000 participants. The commander says he's not the ultimate benchmark, but he'll share it anyway. He reveals the highest record is 115,000 points, set by Taiwan 11 years ago. Itsuki recognizes the name, the hero known as the light of humanity in the strongest awakened of all time. The commander says comparing himself to that legend is foolish. But Itsuki has the potential to reach his level. Hearing this, the protagonist looks at him confidently and declares, he will surpass the legend of Taiwan Jin. At this bold statement, a glint of surprise and interest flashes in Commander Mendui's eyes. In a flashback, Taiwan muses that a new sun must rise to win the war against the beast. Snapping back to the present, Commander Mendui announces that the long-awaited sun has finally risen. Itsuki is taken to another location and asks what the giant structure before them is. The commander explains that the stone monument is a gateway to the realm of the disaster beasts. For that reason, if you only defeat the beasts without sealing the portal, more will just keep coming. The building is a facility to contain the monument and also serves as a training ground for the awakened. Itsuki asks, so this is a training facility? The commander confirms, calling it a stage. He warns that the beasts here are quite strong, and the place is known as the bane of all rookies. The commander then mentions that even Taiwan, as a rookie, took 3 minutes and 14 seconds to complete the challenge. He reminds Itsuki that he claimed he would surpass the hero, challenging him to clear it in under 3 minutes. He then makes an offer. If the young man succeeds, he will officially take him on as his disciple. As they enter, people recognize the commander and wonder who the rookie with him is. Itsuki's surprised by the reaction, wondering if the man is really that famous. A screen appears. The staff's level was 10, and Itsuki wondered how strong they were. A crowd began to form, speculating about the young man. Some assumed he was just a pretty face. Itsuki approached the reception desk to enter the stage. The woman asked how many would be entering. With a confident look, he replied that he would be going in alone. Much to the receptionist's surprise, the scene showed the young man standing alone while others watched from a distance. The woman, annoyed, thought it was all a joke and warned that the place was extremely dangerous and he could get seriously hurt. The crowd began to laugh. Thinking the boy was trying to hit on her, Itsuki cut them off, saying he wasn't interested in the slightest. He was there simply to fight. The woman didn't believe him and offered her number. Thinking he was playing hard to get, faced with this, he glared at her and told her not to make him say it again. Startled, the woman finally gave him the entry wristband, warning that she wasn't responsible for what happened next. The crowd commented that he was foolish and that a level 0 rookie entering a level 10 stage was a one-way trip. Some thought he might have a special gift, but one man said, level is more important than any power. With his bracelet in hand, Itsuki approached the gate to scan it and begin the challenge. As his wrists neared the scanner, a screen appeared, confirming the entry of awakened Itsuki Tenma into the stage. He prepared to crack his knuckles. Remembering his promise to clear everything in under 3 minutes, a digital timer began to tick on the screen and the challenge officially began. As soon as it started, Itsuki prepared for action. His eyes glowed red. He ran across the vast field, realizing the inside of the stage was much larger than he had imagined. With a determined look, he stopped and focused, already sensing an approaching enemy. Suddenly, a wood beast appeared and attacked, but the system display showed it was only level 4. Without wasting a second, Itsuki created an ice blade and charged at the creature with everything he had. With a smile, he wielded a giant ice axe and taunted the other beasts watching from the shadows. A whole horde of wood beasts appeared and faced the young man, ready for battle. Outside, the assistant questioned why the commander put a rookie on this stage with other arenas opened. He added that no one could surpass Taiwan Jin without breaking past human limits. The blue-haired woman recalled how the hero always seemed so gentle, but she'd once witnessed him obliterate a level 97 BS. Back then, his eyes were cold and desolate. They looked completely inhuman. She concluded her memory. That wasn't the gaze of a man, but of a true god. The commander then explained that the boy could potentially rival Taiwa Jin, but he was still a diamond in the rough. He said that if the hero was a god meant to save humanity, then Itsuki was his polar opposite. A demon consumed by hatred. Itsuki realized the bison wasn't strong enough to force his overmimesis skill. At that moment, the demon within him awakened. An intense hatred radiated from his crimson eyes. Itsuki then charged with Ice Blade, annihilating every monster in his way. Facing the aftermath, he wondered if that was really all it had. And was a level 10 BS really this weak? But no, it couldn't be that easy. The system activated overmimesis after detecting its regeneration skill. At that moment, the enemy skill analysis began, starting at 5%. A moment later, the creature's body, which had been sliced in half, started to regenerate rapidly. Once fully restored, its stats showed a massive spike. To defend, Itsuki threw up a wall of black ice while forming blades along his arms. He knew he had to inflict massive damage to stop the regeneration. As the analysis hit 17%, Itsuki continued his unrelenting assault with Ice Blade. As the analysis ticked up, he launched a massive overhead slash with a giant ice sword. The attack sliced the wooden creature right down the middle, cleaving it completely in two. With a smirk, he shouted, "Not yet! I'll keep dicing you until you can't pull yourself back together." He then used his ice-clad arms to hold the two halves apart. Finally, the creature shattered into countless pieces, completely defeated. Itsuki muttered that using black ice for so long was a huge mana drain, but to his shock, the wooden creature started piecing itself back together right before his eyes. The monster attacked again, and he cursed in frustration as the analysis hit 60%. His opponent still wasn't down. With every regeneration, the analysis percentage climbed. So, he switched to lightning to conserve mana and keep his distance. He knew winning hinged on the analysis, but time was short. He had to act fast. With time running out before the 3rd minute, he combined ice and thunder, pushing the analysis to 75%. He then unleashed both skills to force another regeneration, speeding up the copy process. Itsuki knew the risk. If the copied skill cost mana, it was game over. As he dodged its attacks, the analysis reached 80%. He was getting closer. Still, he took the gamble. Mid-attack, the analysis jumped another 5%. His eyes glowing red, Itsuki charged, his body shrouded in a lightning aura. He slammed a devastating blow into the wooden monster's head with all his might. Utterly drained, he could barely stand. Simultaneously, the creature ran him through with several sharp thorns. He felt his mana bottom out, but he smiled. The copy skill didn't use mana. With the analysis complete, he declared his victory. As it hit 100%, a blue lotus appeared. He had acquired the Lotus Burst skill. A status window displayed the details of the new skill, which dealt explosive damage and had a passive effect. As a result, he gained a 20-point boost to all stats, and his injuries were completely healed. Itsuki stood before the monster, ready to activate his new ability. He clasped his hands together, ready to finally test the power of Lotus Burst on the creature. A massive, fiery, lotus-shaped explosion slammed into the wooden monster. The impact was so immense it obliterated everything in a wave of destruction. "Not bad," Itsuki commented, satisfied with the result. He was surprised the skill copy also restored his mana. That made finishing this thing off much easier. Through the thick smoke, he spotted a glowing green crystal on the ground and wondered what it was. Outside, the receptionist started to panic. He'd been in there for almost 3 minutes and she wanted to call for help. Her assistant insisted it was impossible for him to win in just a few minutes. Even though she knew Itsuki wouldn't lose to that thing, the monitor suddenly flashed green. A new record had been set, leaving everyone speechless. The blue-haired woman couldn't believe her eyes. How had he cleared the challenge so fast? The panel confirmed his success at 2 minutes and 14 seconds. She yelled, "That wasn't even 3 minutes." Moments later, Itsuki emerged from the portal and collapsed, completely exhausted. Meanwhile, the screen flashed the new record. He was a full minute faster than Taiwajin, and the crowd went wild. Despite being just a level 0 rookie, Itsuki pushed himself up and asked the commander, "Does this mean I'm officially your disciple?" With a confident grin, he looked at the man and called him master for the first time. Manuzumi praised him, accepting him as his disciple. His assistant noted he hadn't seen the commander this happy in a long time. The crowd buzzed, surprised to learn he was the commander's new disciple. Still, some were skeptical of his potential. Seeing this, the embarrassed receptionist approached with a gift, apologizing for her earlier rudeness. Itsuki accepted the box, telling her it was okay since she was just worried about a stranger. He then thanked the receptionist for her concern, which made the woman blush and stumble over her words. The blue-haired woman called him over, looking slightly annoyed by the whole scene. She warned Itsuki not to get arrogant, just because he was her father's disciple. The commander suggested it was time to level up. The man stated that the current stage was far too easy, and that Itsuki was ready to take on the advanced stages. As they walked, the commander explained that a beast's level isn't the most important measure of its strength. He revealed that the true deciding factor was the creature's species. Some species act purely on instinct. However, others possess intelligence equal to or greater than humans, making them far more dangerous. The blue-haired woman added that the awakened have similar traits, but only humans possess a class. For that reason, he said, our next destination is the advanced stage in District 4. With a flicker of anger, Itsuki wondered if the beast he'd defeated had felt any pain. A dark aura flared around him, and the assistant felt a chill, wondering what was going through the boy's mind. Several onlookers mentioned that the stage in District 4 was controlled by someone named Ari Kinoshita. One of the men looked terrified and whispered to his friend to be quiet. Warning! They'd be in trouble if anyone overheard them. Meanwhile, Rinasita, son of the Northern District Chief, was shown acting with incredible arrogance. A guard asked when he planned on leaving. The young man scoffed that the place was his and he'd leave when he felt like it. With a haughty smile, he declared that waiting in line was for commoners, not for him. Back with Itsuki, he opened the gift from the receptionist and found a glowing white stone inside. A little later, sitting with the commander and his assistant, he said that he recognized the stone. Mendui asked if he had seen a karma stone before, as the young man held it up to the light. Itsuki recalled the large green crystal the beast had left behind. Noting there was a slight difference, he compared the white stone to the green crystal he'd seen earlier and pointed out the different color. The assistant was shocked, wondering how an intermediate karma stone could appear in a rookie stage. The blue-haired woman reminded him that Itsuki was still a rookie and explained that karma stones are basically XP stones. When a beast is defeated, it releases energy, which the victor absorbs to level up. So, the stone is a crystal that stores that energy for later. Still, she found it odd that one would form naturally in such a basic stage. Commander Menazumi suggested that it was likely because of Itsuki's gift. Both the young woman and the assistant looked confused, unsure what the commander meant by gift. The man explained that normally the victor absorbs the XP, but the boy hadn't leveled up at all. From this, he theorized that the energy from the first monster was absorbed by everyone who was present. In other words, he and the blue-haired woman had unintentionally taken the boy's XP. However, since no one else was in the advanced stage, the leftover energy condensed into a karma stone. The assistant then asked how his stats could rise if he couldn't level up properly. The commander immediately cut him off. He stated firmly that an awakened's gift was confidential information. He told Itsuki to use the stone as he saw fit and announced he'd be away at a conference. Before leaving, he gave him 4 rules. Keep this a secret, don't talk about your gift, and clear 6 more stages. Itsuki agreed with a confident smile, saying he would follow his master's orders. In District 4, 2 awakened guys were arguing with security, complaining that the Kinoshita family had reserved the stage. One of them fumed, saying that having money didn't give them the right to do whatever they wanted. The man insisted on entering since the rich kid hadn't arrived. Threateningly, he said he'd report it all to the awakened guild. However, a dark figure with glowing red eyes appeared behind them. Moments later, one of the men lunged forward, but a brute slammed him with a heavy punch. The impact sent the other man flying. The muscular guy then charged with a high-speed punch toward an awakened. His punch clashed with the young opponent's earth attack, and the man's blow was completely shattered on impact. The awakened was shocked because his rank skill had no effect. He couldn't believe the attack didn't even faze him. The brute revealed a metallic face with glowing red eyes. With a faint smile, he said he didn't even feel that attack. Another man, filled with fear, asked if the figure was a monster, since his own technique could penetrate anything. Then Teru grabbed the man by the collar with a terrifying look. The young man froze completely, danger looming right before his eyes. Without mercy, the muscular man struck the young awakened before him. The poor guy was completely overpowered. The crowd recognized the attacker as Teru Oga, one of Ri's pillars. He's a level 12 metal elementalist. Teru held the two men down, warning that no one could enter without permission. He threatened that anyone who resisted would suffer the same fate. One was thrown to the ground, while the other was held in a chokehold to make the message clear. The brute warned them not to even think about helping those two. One of the men in suits told Teru not to overdo it, as many people were watching. He warned that their master might get angry. Teru ignored him and tossed the young man to the ground with a condescending look. He seemed unconcerned about any consequences. Suddenly, Itsuki and a blue-haired woman appeared to help the injured man. The victim then pointed at the attacker. The crowd murmured that the boy was still level 0 and would be finished for interfering. Someone else noted the woman beside him looked familiar. Hearing this, Teru shouted angrily that no one was allowed to pass and told them to leave if they didn't want to end up like the others. Itsuki understood that he had to defeat his opponent to get inside. Meanwhile, the blue-haired woman said she would call the administrator, but Itsuki stopped her, saying it wasn't necessary. He remembered his master's words, to fight for what he believed in with all his strength. He then asked his assistant to treat the injured while he faced the brute. The system displayed Itsuki's status. Teru sneered, asking why a level 0 dared to challenge him, but Teru felt an odd pressure from the young man. His status was revealed with a total of 605 points. Despite his level advantage, the brute grew tense, not understanding what was happening as he focused his gaze on the boy. He tried to figure out the source of his confidence and hidden strength. In the reflection of his eyes, Itsuki shot forward at an incredible speed. Before he could react, Itsuki landed a powerful punch right into Teru's metallic face. The crowd was stunned by the speed of his attack. One person said that even at level 8, he couldn't follow that speed. The impact was so strong it began to crack the metal on Teru's face. Teru held his metallic face, praising the young man's speed. He saw the crack from Itsuki's punch, but said the force was still not enough and countered with a powerful kick. The counterattack sent Itsuki flying. He then realized he needed to use Thunder Wave. That way, his agility would increase, allowing him to face stronger enemies. The status screen displayed his attributes and active skills. Opponent's metallization analysis began at 1%. Itsuki was surprised. His foe's skill was strong enough to activate his copy ability. He decided it was time to get serious. He realized he had to target the parts of the body not covered in metal. The analysis jumped to 5% as he formed a plan. Without wasting a moment, Itsuki planted his feet firmly on the ground, preparing to dash off at full speed. Teru mocked him, saying Itsuki had neither strength nor speed. The brute prepared his next attack with a wide grin as Itsuki exploited an opening in his defense, using Thunder Wave to boost his speed even more. Taker was stunned by the use of the lightning element. Itsuki rushed in, saying he wouldn't give him time to metalize. In a flurry of rapid strokes, the analysis climbed relentlessly. The percentage leaped from 25 to 66 in mere seconds. The crowd was stunned, asking how he could use skills from different classes. They started to think a level 0 could actually defeat Takeru. The brute began to despair at the young man's speed. He realized that if this continued, a crushing defeat awaited him. In the heat of the moment, even orders were difficult to get out. Teruru yelled at his men to stop watching and help immediately. He knew he had reached his limit and had no other choice. Through gritted teeth, he decided to play his final card. With a loud roar, Taru unleashed an incredible amount of energy. The force of the explosion was so great that the clothes he wore were completely shredded. After that, he metallized his entire body, and the analysis reached 88%. The brute thanked Itsuki for cornering him. He explained that metallized body parts gain a defense bonus. With that, his total defense exceeded 500 points. He said he originally planned to split the youth in two, but as a token of gratitude, he promised a quick and painless finish. The crowd was in disbelief, as such high defensive stats were rarely ever seen. They thought the level 0 kid had already won. Itsuki analyzed that the transformation consumed a massive amount of mana. Therefore, his opponent's mana reserves couldn't be that large while maintaining such a strong defense. Terado laughed at this theory, but inwardly, he was quite surprised. He wondered how a level 0 could possess such sharp intuition. Itsuki said he wouldn't bother trying to drain his opponent's mana because the fight would end right now. Soon after, the final analysis reached 100%. The blue-haired woman saw the lotus flower reappear. She realized Itsuki was getting stronger. The people in the crowd didn't understand the skill. They thought it wasn't an attack and wondered how he could win with such a technique. The analysis completed, and Itsuki obtained the piercing sphere. The problem was its speed, only 1 meter per second. With a gaze full of determination, Itsuki vowed to shatter his opponent's defense. He would crush the enemy's greatest pride. Thanks to the new skill, his stats increased by another 10 points. The wounds on his body healed, as Itsuki appeared inside the blue lotus flower. He challenged Teru to try and evade his new attack. After that, the piercing sphere was activated with a confident smile. The crowd couldn't believe a level 0 was able to penetrate a level 12's defense. They felt something very strange in Itsuki's eyes. A small dark purple orb appeared in front of Itsuki. A powerful light radiated with mysterious power. From there, the orb slowly moved towards the brute. The attack was incredibly slow and predictable. People actually laughed at the skill, thinking it was disappointing. One of them commented that the object was just an ordinary small ball. Takaru also sneered and told Itsuki to stop cracking him up. He didn't believe such a pathetic attack could stop him in his tracks. A mocking gaze was directed at the slowly floating ball of energy. The brute asked, "Is this your trump card, kid?" He warned that the boy would meet a tragic end. The small orb penetrated the metal body as if without any resistance. The attack completely bypassed his absolute defense. Itsuki said he intentionally spared his right arm because his opponent was still human. If he were facing a monster, he would have immediately aimed for its neck. After that, he turned to the men in suits. With a cold stare, he ordered them to take the injured man to the hospital. Then he shouted angrily, telling everyone to get out of his sight. His patience with the situation had run out. The frightened men in suits lifted their fallen boss. They immediately fled the scene as quickly as possible. The blue-haired woman and the crowd celebrated the unexpected victory. They couldn't believe Itsuki actually pulled it off. The two rescued men called out to him, asking to form a party. They said the three of them could clear the stage in no time. One of them was excited because their team would have a healer. That way, mana could be restored and the sphere could be used multiple times. Itsuki thought that a monster's high defense was actually an advantage. This method would allow him to increase the speed of the new sphere. Faced with this, the two young men urged Itsuki to join them. They waited anxiously for an answer. With a serious expression, the offer was immediately rejected. Itsuki stated firmly that he would face the challenge alone. The crowd was shocked by the youth's decision. They didn't believe he would enter a level 15 stage by himself. The blue-haired woman warned that their plan was far too risky. Hearing this, one of the young men backed out, saying he'd find another team. The assistant then mentioned the monster's incredibly high defense. Worried if Itsuki's mana would be enough, Itsuki simply reassured him. The woman's face flushed bright red as she quickly denied being worried. He said he would tend to the injured and told Itsuki to handle it his way. Before leaving, he warned that stone beasts travel in packs. He also advised Itsuki to be careful with his mana consumption. Itsuki nodded, approaching the entrance gate. The system confirmed Tenma's awakened entry. Upon entering, Itsuki surveyed the scene before him. He realized there were far more enemies than expected. The area was a barren, rocky landscape. Several stone creatures with glowing eyes glared from a distance. The system screen displayed the stone statue. The creature had 460 total points and could convert magic into defense. Itsuki prepared to test his new ability. He wanted to confirm if the monster would trigger his sphere's passive condition. With that, the piercing sphere reactivated with an intense light. Purple and blue energy concentrated in his hand, ready for an attack. A moment later, the orb launched toward the stone creature. The monster charged forward, oblivious to the approaching danger. The sphere hit its mark, creating a large hole in the opponent's chest. The system confirmed the defeat of the level 9 stone statue. His theory was proven correct, and the sphere's speed increased by 100%. Itsuki was confident the plan would work. Not long after, 3 other stone creatures appeared, confronting Itsuki and ready to strike. They seemed much angrier than the last one. Itsuki thought that slow monsters were the perfect targets for his new abilities. His body was enveloped in lightning as he made his preparations. Several more enemies were defeated, with each shot costing 50 mana. With his current mana, he only had 2 attacks left. In this situation, 2 more monsters were seen approaching, and the boss hadn't even appeared yet. He needed to save his attacks for the end. That's when he got the idea to defeat 2 opponents with a single shot. Energy was concentrated for the perfect attack. A spear was fired into the ground to create a dust screen. The explosion kicked up rocks and distracted the monsters. Taking advantage of the distraction, Itsuki leaped into the air to surprise the stone creatures. The move gave him a tactical advantage from above. With a sharp gaze and a faint smile, Itsuki prepared the final blow. His eyes glowed red with adrenaline. All his energy was gathered into the sphere and launched with all his might from the air. Purple energy glowed brightly in the sky. The attack hit both monsters on target, and the sphere's speed increased again. The system confirmed 2 eliminations. Completely exhausted and out of mana, Itsuki fell to the ground. Itsuki grumbled, wishing he had a recovery skill. Despite his fatigue, he noted his ability to now hit a target running at 5 meters per second. His abilities had become much stronger. The screen displayed the details of the piercing sphere. The skill's speed increase could reach up to 500%. Suddenly, the ground shook violently, and a giant shadow covered Itsuki's body. Shortly after, the stage boss appeared with a thunderous roar, sending dust flying in all directions. The stone creature activated a B- rank skill called Gigantification and transformed into a gigantic beast. The screen showed that the monster was at level 15 with a total of 777 points. Facing the danger, Itsuki activated Thunder Wave to increase his agility by 50%. Itsuki wondered if the piercing sphere could even penetrate such a tough creature. For that reason, he decided his best chance was to aim for the head to deal more damage. He jumped high into the air, finding the perfect opening to launch an attack with all his strength. However, he realized the sphere was too small and might not be strong enough to take down the giant. The stone monster seized the opportunity and swung its giant arm at him. He felt hopeless, unable to escape while in midair. With no other choice, he activated Black Ice Wall to try and withstand the impact. The attack slammed into the ice defense, shattering it into pieces. His body was thrown against the wall, and he had to admit the creature was much stronger than he initially thought. At that same moment, the Overmiz skill activated after detecting Gigantification, and a faint smile appeared on his face. This would definitely help. Elsewhere, far away, Raji Kinesita was inside his mansion when one of his men received a call. His face turning pale. The wealthy young man was disturbed by the noise and told him to be quiet as he disliked shouting. The man apologized as the young master demanded to know what had surprised him so much. He revealed someone had defeated Teru Oga and forced their way onto the reserved stage. Re-erupted, was it an awakened over level 30? The underling explained that the high-level awakened were occupied, leaving only rookies at the scene. Because of that, he found it impossible that a rookie could have taken down Takaru. Rai asked for more information, but Rai cut him off, saying he didn't need details. If they left now, they would make it in time. The rich man's son, annoyed by the delay, yelled at him to get moving without making him repeat the order. Startled, the man quickly agreed and prepared to depart with his boss. Rai shed his coat, vowing to make anyone who dared to mess with the Kinoshita family pay. Back on stage, the analysis process hit 100%. Itsuki appeared inside a lotus flower. The skill copy was a success, and the giant rock creature was still glaring at him. Itsuki noted the analysis was complete. Meanwhile, the piercing sphere leveled up to 2. The screen indicated the SFAR now moved at 7 meters per second with adjustable size. Itsuki realized the passive bonus had doubled, and the sphere's size could be changed using mana. Thrilled, he decided to test his new abilities immediately. The screen showed he'd gained a level 2 piercing sphere and 20 stat points. However, his overall total had actually dropped atop the giant golem. He poured all his mana into creating the strongest piercing sphere he could. A colossal purple and black sphere hurtled down toward the rock creature with immense force. The attack struck its target, piercing through the monster's body from top to bottom, with unbelievable power. Lying on the ground, completely exhausted, Itsuki smirked, wondering if he'd overdone it since his mana was now at 0. The system confirmed the golem's defeat and a 200% increase in the sphere's speed. He clutched the green karma stone, calculating that 2 more successes would make his sphere as fast as a car. He then realized he'd been overlooking the passive effect, even though its benefits were enormous. With a faint smile, he recalled that Lotus Burst increased the range of all his skills. The screen explained the skill's range grew by 1% with every takedown, making him envision its incredible potential. Outside the arena, the panel displayed that the challenge was completed in 3 minutes and 1 second. The crowd was in shock. A team of 5 usually takes 10 minutes. Taiwajin's record had been shattered. When they saw Itsuki emerge, they wondered how he was still level 0 and didn't even have a scratch on him. The blue-haired assistant noticed him, remarking with a shocked look, "He escaped without a scratch again and broke the record. His speed is unreal." Itsuki explained that the creature was weak to piercing attacks, and then asked, "By the way, what's that glowing butterfly?" The woman introduced herself as a Shikigami user, explaining the butterfly was her jade familiar. The young man looked amazed. "This is my first time seeing a Shikigami. It's really beautiful." He then asked, "What kinds of awakened classes are there?" The assistant was stunned that he didn't know something so basic. The assistant explained there were 4 main categories, 3 of which he had already encountered. The first are elementalists, who manipulate one of the 7 elements and are the most common and powerful type. She used a classmate as an example of an awakened elementalist. Furthermore, the brute she had faced earlier was also a metal elementalist. The second class are Shikigami users, who can summon familiars that obey only their master. She revealed that the familiar is with its master from birth. As the creature's stats were displayed, the blue-haired woman finished her explanation and asked, "Does Itsuki have any other questions?" Itsuki noticed that her Shikigami was stronger than its master and questioned if she was truly a senior. The assistant got flustered by the question, annoyed that he would speak so bluntly without a filter. The assistant clarified that Shikigami also absorb experience, which is why they are always stronger than their masters. With a dark look, Itsuki thought to himself that it would be easier to just attack the user directly in a fight. The blue-haired woman grew scared as she felt that dark aura leaking from him again, wondering what was wrong with him. The hero dismissed her concern and asked about the next class, since only 2 had been mentioned. Faced with this situation, he explained that the 3rd class was the most mysterious, with very little information available. And then he revealed that it was his own class. The Orderer class stunned the young men. It's so mysterious because every Orderer has unique abilities, like Itsuki's blue lotus flower. He then gave examples like controlling one's body size, creating clones, or even stretching abilities. He explained that standard skills fall within the C to S rank range, while an Orderer possesses exclusive Z rank skills. Because of these unique skills, they're considered a special case, which is why his father got mad when he asked about Itsuki's abilities. He then called him a rare case for using 3 different skills, 2 of which are elemental. Itsuki figured since his master wasn't around, it was fine for the woman to keep talking about him. He then asked about the last remaining class, but the blue-haired woman gestured for silence. With a faint smile, she noted that he hadn't revealed anything about himself either. He took the hint, and the woman mentioned the rescued student was doing fine before asking about his next move. Itsuki said he planned to clear the stage again, but she warned him about the 2-day cooldown. Surprised by the wait, he decided to focus on leveling up his Lotus Bur's other skills instead. He then asked if there was a stage packed with monsters where he could practice. She smiled, saying she knew the perfect place for that. She warned that it would be tough without any area of effect attacks. But Itsuki just gave a confident smile. He insisted on going, realizing she didn't know about his Lotus Burrs. The place, Locust Desert, has over 1,000 low-level monsters swarming the area. She continued to emphasize how dangerous it was, but he assured her that everything would be fine. The crowd thought he was crazy, and someone mentioned that Rikinashito would definitely show up. Meanwhile, the rich kid arrived at the stage only to find his target was already gone. His crew confirmed the target had left, clearing the area in under 30 minutes. Ri was furious, unable to believe the guy had the nerve to humiliate him like that. He then ordered his men to contact a tracker to pick up the trail. Seething with hatred, he screamed that he wanted the man kept alive, vowing to make him experience a living nightmare. Elsewhere, an assassin hiding nearby muttered that he didn't know some rich kid had such a powerful subordinate. The assassin felt relieved to have escaped, thinking that if it weren't for his own skill, he would have been done for. He ducked into a narrow alley, believing he was safe after giving them the slip completely. However, a giant red-eyed wolf suddenly appeared and lunged at him, giving him no chance to defend himself. From a nearby rooftop, a tracker named Charles watched the scene unfold. Terrified, the assassin couldn't understand how the man had found him so quickly. With a faint smile, Charles explained that his familiar had an incredibly sharp sense of smell. He then revealed that the wolf could smell the lingering aura left on him by his targets. In desperation, the man begged to be spared, crying out in fear. But Charles said he couldn't, since Mr. Kaniso would be furious if he let him go. With his eyes glowing red, he ordered the wolf to enjoy its meal. The giant wolf moved in to deal the final strike. A moment later, Charles noted that his familiar had finally leveled up after all this time. A status screen appeared for the Hound of Mort, now at level 16, and boasting new skills. Just then, he answered a call and reported in a serious voice, "The job is done." Charles got another call, learning that Oja was seriously injured. He asked if they'd found the brute's weak point. With a faint smile, he glanced at the giant wolf and said, "Looks like we have some new prey to hunt." Meanwhile, Itsuki and the blue-haired woman arrived at the Locust Desert. He looked at the fields of grain and asked, "Are there really that many grasshoppers here?" She explained that the boss monster chooses its environment based on its preferences, and predicting that is a basic skill. She added that the stage was so dangerous it was being considered for closure, and Itsuki noticed there wasn't even a receptionist. He questioned why, since it was only a level 13 stage. But she told him the rules here were different. For that reason, he explained that the beasts were aggressive and their numbers overwhelming. 1 second of carelessness is enough to be swarmed by locusts and overtaken. The scene shows the pristine remains of those who failed before as evidence of the danger that awaits. But the hero just smirked, saying this was exactly what he wanted. This prompted the woman to ask if he wanted to back out. With a confident look, he declared he wasn't desperate enough to become bug bait. The assistant watched him step into the portal, noting his unwavering confidence despite all the warnings. He figured he'd given all the necessary warnings. Whatever happened now wasn't his responsibility. Suddenly, he remembered the locusts would respawn endlessly until the boss was defeated and decided to give one last warning. The blue-haired woman steeled herself, determined to enter the portal. She had decided to warn the boy, but before she could enter, Charles and a giant wolf blocked her path. They stood in her way, with a sly grin and glowing red eyes. Charles said he was looking for someone. The atmosphere suddenly grew tense. Meanwhile, Itsuki had entered the stage. He glanced around, remarking that the place was a complete mess. With a smirk, he clapped his hands together, ready to begin the pest extermination. He seemed brimming with confidence in his own abilities. A lone scarecrow stood out in the middle of a barren field, highlighting the location's eerie, abandoned atmosphere. The system screen displayed Level 1 and Level 2 grasshoppers. He noted the individual creatures' levels were quite low. Just then, a massive swarm of locusts blotted at the sky. The hero realized their numbers were absolutely insane. With a mischievous glint in his eye, Itsuki activated Lotus Burst. The young man muttered that this was the perfect chance to practice. He covered himself in ice armor, then laid out his plan. He'd let them all gather in one place to take them out at once. The locust swarm completely enveloped him. He then shouted, "The time to strike is now." With that, he instantly activated Lotus Burst. An intense light erupted from the center of the monster horde. The skill exploded with full force, wiping out countless locusts. The system confirmed their elimination and a corresponding range increase. Amidst the aftermath, Itsuki stood still as notifications flooded in. The power of his skill was simply absurd. The screen displayed a Level 2 skill with a diameter of 10.5 meters. The total range had increased to 110%. Itsuki calculated that with 10% of his mana, he could fire about 10 shots and increase the range to 1000%. The screen showed his mana at 280, up from 252. He grumbled about the stage's cooldown time. He was confused why the stage clear notification hadn't appeared and began to suspect something was off. Suddenly, the system detected a C- rank skill, and skill analysis activated at 1%. The shocked young man wondered, they are still survivors. Soon, a new swarm of locusts descended, surrounding him from all directions. With his ice armor active, he realized he'd let his guard down. That skill he detected must belong to the stage boss. The problem was, he didn't know where the boss was hiding. Still, he could increase his range further. He decided to keep wiping out locusts until the boss revealed itself. He launched another explosion, and the system confirmed the elimination, increasing his range to 220%. Itsuki was shocked to see the skill's diameter had reached 16 meters. Its effects were truly insane, even after wiping out so many swarms. He wondered why the boss still hadn't appeared. The scene then revealed locusts hatching from eggs hidden underground. And so the creatures were respawning. And he realized the assistant had been right about the endless respawns. As more monsters appeared, the boss's skill analyses rose to 27%. The status screen showed he had enough mana for 9 more explosions, and he prepared to continue. With his hands glowing, Itsuki shouted that it didn't matter how many times they came back. He then joined his hands, his ice armor flaring, and vowed to wipe out the entire swarm. With that, he unleashed another devastating explosion, and the system confirmed the elimination. Notifications kept popping up as he used the skill twice in a row. Without giving the monsters a chance, he relentlessly attacked, using the skill 7 times in a row. The screen showed the skill's diameter now at an incredible 54.5 meters. With a 990% bonus, He realized he only had enough mana for one final attack, but the Locust just kept coming. Completely surrounded, he yelled, "They're endless!" The situation was looking desperate. He also realized the boss hadn't shown up yet and considered falling back to finish his analysis. But he immediately dropped the thought. Retreating now would be admitting defeat, and he refused to give up. With his eyes glowing red, he prepared one last attack, vowing to take them all down. Then he unleashed a final Lotus Burst with all his remaining strength. Exhausted, he dropped to his knees, realizing that if things kept going like this, he wouldn't last much longer. Despite his constant attacks, the number of locusts hadn't dropped at all. The analysis hit 91%, and he realized all the bugs after the first were just level 1. Then it clicked. The boss's skill was unlimited reproduction. A locust queen appeared. The screen showed the queen's stats, level 13, and capable of controlling up to 110 locusts at once. Itsuki knew he had to eliminate the source, but his mana was empty and the analysis was nearing 100%. Just then, a blue orb appeared as the analysis finally completed, saving him from a tight spot. He acquired the Mana Sense skill, which restores 10% mana for each enemy detected. Itsuki grinned. The skill had a range of over 1,000 meters and restored mana. With a sly grin, he realized he could farm locusts endlessly with this, but decided to end it quickly. The blue-haired girl was waiting. The screen confirmed he gained 10 points to all stats, and his health and mana were fully restored. His total stats now hit 1,120. He prepared to find the boss with his new skill, releasing a blue energy wave across the battlefield to track it. The mana wave expanded, finally locating the Locust Queen hiding underground. With his eyes glowing, he shouted with a smile, having finally found the creature. Seeing his chance, Itsuki prepared to launch his ultimate attack with a confident grin. He stated that hiding behind minions was useless. He then formed a piercing spear, combining Zephyr with its passive effect and launching it at the boss with full force. The screen showed the attack range hitting 120 meters as the energy blast tore through the ground at high speed. The Locust Queen was hit dead on, sent flying from the direct impact. Moments later, Itsuki appeared behind the queen, clad in his lightning and ice armor. With a sly grin and glowing eyes, he declared checkmate. He then shattered the queen's body with his ice blade, leaving no room for error. Without their queen, the rest of the swarm fell into complete chaos. With his hands ablaze, he told them not to worry as he would send them to join their mother. He noted that the skill's range had now increased to over 1,210%. The orb range had also increased to 131 meters. The screen confirmed Lotus Burst's diameter was now 65.5 meters, and Orbeez range had increased again. Itsuki picked up an item. This haul was amazing. He would return later to improve his passive skill. As he was leaving the arena, he set a new record of 17 minutes and 7 seconds. He figured the assistant must be worried. Seeing the girl waiting, he braced himself for a lecture. With a warm smile, he found her quirky side adorable and apologized for making her worry. Charles grabbed the girl by the neck and said, "If you cleared the stage alone, you must be the one Reggie is looking for." He continued, saying he had tried to get information from her, but even though she was injured, the girl didn't say a word. Just then, Itsuki appeared. "Get your filthy hands off her. Do that and I'll let you live." The man in the hat laughed. "Don't get cocky just because you're a level 0 rookie." Wasting no time, Itsuki, shrouded in lightning, charged toward the enemy. Charles was shocked by the kid's insane speed and felt his end was near. However, giant Wolfmort appeared and blocked the blow with its head to protect its master. The system detected a beer wank Shikigami. Over Mimisa's activated. Analysis of the creature began. Itsuki realized the wolf was a Shikigami, meaning the man in the hat was a user. Charles praised Itsuki's movements. So this is why Oga lost, even without his armor. He then grabbed the blue-haired girl, using her as a shield while keeping Wolfmort at bay. "Ha! Itsuki screamed her name while blocking the wolf's attack. As the analysis percentage kept climbing, the creature opened its massive jaws, attempting to clamp down on Itsuki's arm with all its power. Charles mocked, boasting that Mord's bite could shatter any defense below 300. Charles's expression froze in utter shock, his face filled with disbelief. Itsuki had blocked the bite with his ice arm and was already forming a piercing sphere. The sphere exploded inside the wolf's mouth, the impact sending it reeling backward. The young man noted that without a shikigami, a user is left defenseless. Analysis at 77%. Charles was stunned, wondering if the kid was really just a rookie. He explained that Mord possessed a response skill that drastically shortened its revival time. In this state, the giant wolf regenerated, and Charles yelled for it to tear him to pieces. Itsuki activated his mana sense, a wave of energy pulsing through the area. He dodged the attack, noting that keeping the skill active was the right call. The analysis continued. Itsuki thought the process was nearly complete, but the blue lotus appearing would make the enemy suspicious. Charles started to panic. The kid had power, speed, and even detection skills. He threatened his captive again, warning that if the resistance continued, the girl would be finished. Itsuki wanted to complete the analysis before the blue lotus appeared, but things were getting complicated. Analysis complete. Itsuki obtained Shikigami Ether, a skill allowing him to control the creature. Stats increased by 20 points, but the recovery effect failed due to incomplete copy activation. Itsuki realized the healing effect was lost by bypassing the blue lotus. He didn't care, though his body was already restored. Wolfmore attacked again, and the young man understood. The new skill could seize another's Shikigami. With that, he prepared to use his new ability to take complete control of the creature. With his eyes glowing red, Itsuki touched the wolf's head and declared, "This one's mine now." A blue light enveloped the creature, and the transformation began right before his eyes. Seizing the moment, Itsuki landed a powerful kick on the hatted man, sending him flying. Charles was furious with the wolf, screaming that the creature was useless after all the experience he'd invested in it. He gripped his captive even tighter, threatening to finish her if the resistance continued. With her last bit of strength, Aya told Itsuki not to worry about her and to keep fighting. Itsuki raised his hands in surrender, shouting for the enemy not to touch her. Charles smirked, saying that if he'd been obedient from the start, the girl wouldn't have had to suffer so much. The young man asked why he was being attacked, feeling he never started the fight. The man, Charles, revealed he'd been sent by Arikiniseta to capture him. Hearing the name, Itsuki understood. He needed to meet this Rikiniseta and speak to him directly. Charles threatened that Wolfmort would rip off both his legs if he used ice as a defense. He then ordered Wolfmort to tear off both of Itsuki's legs at once. However, Itsuki also gave an order, telling the creature to prove its worth as his Shikigami. The wolf turned and bit its former master, the lotus symbol glowing on its forehead. At the same time, Itsuki sped over to Aya, pulling the girl into his arms. The hatted man screamed in pain, not understanding why his own familiar had turned on him. Itsuki approached his new Shikigami and praised it. "Good boy." With a look of pure rage, he vowed to make Charles pay 100-fold for the suffering he'd caused. In a panic, the hatted man offered to lure out Ray in exchange for his life. With glowing red eyes and a dark expression, Itsuki said the offer sounded tempting. Charles saw an opening, thinking he still had a chance to turn the tables. A moment later, he created a giant ice spike and launched it, shouting for the boy to be gone. Itsuki responded with a calm look and told him, "You first." He fearlessly declared that taking down Ray was his problem now, and ordered Wolfmort to make Charles suffer just as Aya had. The hatted man cried out in fear, begging for one last chance. Without mercy, the wolf pounced on its former master, ending the confrontation. Charles screamed in despair, trying to remind the beast that he was its master. But the creature paid no heed, opening its massive jaws to mercilessly finish him. Meanwhile, Itsuki sensed someone had been watching him since he left the stage. With a serious expression, he called out, "Come out of hiding. Show yourself." The scene opened to a vast wheat field, with the stage looming in the background. Suddenly, a hooded figure emerged from the wheat, admitting he'd been found. Itsuki gave him a suspicious look, asking if he was a friend of the man in the hat. The blonde man panicked and immediately denied it, insisting he wasn't an enemy, and asking for a chance to explain. Having no time for that, Itsuki turned and told Wolfmort to follow him after he finished his meal. The hooded man thought that if Itsuki could control such a ferocious beast, maybe he could help him. He introduced himself as Iberia, recognizing Itsuki as the one who took down Oga. He pleaded for help, offering creation stones and weapons as a reward. The blonde-haired youth was confused, thinking anyone would accept such an offer. He recalled his father's words. Gifts must be relevant, like water in the desert. A true gift would be a sword for an avenger or medicine for the wounded. With a smile, Iberia said he finally understood what Itsuki needed. He warned that moving slowly while carrying an injured girl could have serious consequences. She might not make it to help in time. Then the blonde youth revealed he had a healing item and displayed a glowing scroll. As Itsuki walked away, he confidently declared that he could save his assistant with his own item. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Itsuki stopped, turning with a surprised look to ask if it was true. Iberio confirmed the healing process wasn't instantaneous, but it would definitely save the young woman. Itsuki then asked, "Can an item work even while it's still covered?" The blonde youth explained it was a rare artifact. He realized Itsuki was still a rookie and didn't understand artifacts. He explained that ordinary weapons were ineffective against the disaster beasts, but artisans create special items. He then explained that artifacts are divided into 4 categories: common, rare, epic, and unique. The common category includes basic weapons, like longswords, that can damage monsters and the awakened. The rare and epic categories increase the user's stats and have useful special abilities. Unique items, meanwhile, are at the very top, with massive bonuses and extraordinary abilities that can turn the tide of any battle. Iberia mentioned that while artisans aren't strong fighters, they're highly respected for creating these artifacts. Itsuki understood that his father was an artisan. However, the blonde youth added that his father is one of the top 10. With a proud smile, he revealed his father had created 3 of the 10 unique artifacts. For that achievement, his father is widely known as the Artisan King of the North. However, the blonde youth grew annoyed, as Itsuki seemed completely uninterested in the story, and turned away. Itsuki picked up the crossbow that Charles had dropped. Iberia was incredulous at his calm demeanor. Meanwhile, Itsuki was pondering how to use the weapon. The blonde youth approached, explaining that the crossbow is a rare artifact that generates its own ammunition. Suddenly, the weapon vanished, and Iberia explained that soulbound artifacts can be stored. Itsuki thanked him for the help with healing and said he needed to ... find Rai Kinoshita. Upon hearing the name, the blonde youth was shocked, saying that facing such a person required immense courage. However, he revealed that if Rai is the target, then they share the same objective. Itsuki asked why. Iberia suggested they team up for the preliminary rounds of the Savior National Tournament. He explained that the preliminary rounds are divided by continent, and the northern venue is in District 4. As the son of the family head, Rai wants to reach the main event to avoid bringing shame to his family. For that reason, he's monopolizing all the stages to level up faster. Itsuki asked why he was chosen for the team. The blonde youth replied that he has a premonition that if they work together, they will definitely pass. Iberia explained that since childhood, he'd always watched his father create artifacts and greatly admired each finished piece. Every finished piece felt like a work of art, making his respect for his father grow even more. Fueled by this admiration, he dreamed of becoming one of the awakened to fight the disaster beasts. However, when he finally awakened and asked for an artifact, his father told him the time wasn't right. After a lot of begging, his father agreed to give him one artifact if he passes the preliminary rounds of the tournament. With a determined look, he declared he must pass no matter what. Itsuki asked why he doesn't just team up with high-level players, considering his father's fame. The blonde boy explains that his father warned him to graduate on his own merits, without relying on the family name. Furthermore, reports indicate that the strongest fighters have been bought by Ari Kinoshita. However, after hearing that someone defeated Takaru and broke the record, he investigates and finds his trail. Itsuki agrees to the partnership, but says he will take his father to the hospital first. The blonde boy stops in his tracks. He begins suggesting names for their duo. Itsuki thinks the blonde boy is more talkative than Riku. Thinking of his best friend, he wonders if Riku and Sheo will also participate in the preliminary rounds. In the distance, Riku is seen training hard in preparation for the preliminary rounds. Seiya asks if he has a cold. The boy replies, "Itsuki might be talking about me." Sheo asks, "How long has it been since the incident? And is Itsuki okay?" "We haven't seen him." Riku calls her strange and asks why she didn't visit if she was so worried. This makes her blush. The girl gets angry and launches a water attack at her friend. Riku is shocked and complains about the sudden attack. However, the girl says it was his fault for leaving an opening during practice. Suddenly, a muscular man appears and tells the two to stop joking around because the preliminary Eris is starting soon. Meanwhile, Rajiki Nasisia observes the 3 creation stones inside the silver suitcase. He wonders where his men are, as they are late, and suspects something unexpected has happened. In anger, the rich man's son smashes a stone and calls it useless while gaining experience points. Rei says, "Forget that guy and focus on their preliminary. If I fail, my father will send me to solitary confinement. I'm excited to fight against other awakeners, and my status as a water elementalist has been revealed." A crew member reports that they have secured the assistance of 887 awakeners. The rich man's son praises him, saying he's the only one he can rely on right now. He then uses the last R creation stone, finally managing to level up thanks to the experience. His body is covered in lightning. His new level reaches 12, and his stats are displayed for battle. In a different location, Itsuki appears with a blue aura and a determined gaze to face whatever comes. Inside the hospital room, Itsuki apologizes to the commander for Choha's condition. Zumi Menyusk asks what steps should be taken, offering to handle the rich kid once and for all. But Itsuki immediately stops that intention, saying with a serious expression that he will handle it himself. Faced with his decision, the commander agrees to the request and asks for a detailed explanation later. Iberia is surprised to learn that the man is Itsuki's master, and immediately wants to ask for an autograph. Itsuki then announces that he will be participating in the preliminary round with Iberia, and asks about Ajo's condition. The woman says the situation is stable, thanks to the Jada butterfly and the rare artifact belonging to the blonde youth. Menwizumi recognizes the object and concludes that Iberia is the son of the famous craftsman, Aiden. The blonde man is shocked that the commander knows his father and decides he must act dignified. With a smug smile, he misspeaks, saying that he is Aiden's father, not his son. Everyone is silent. Then the commander corrects him, stating their relationship is the opposite. Very embarrassed, the blonde youth immediately corrects himself and explains that Aiden is, in fact, his father. Zumi thanks him for saving his daughter and says he will visit Aiden after the tournament is over. After that, he tells the two of them to get ready, adding that he and Ayo will be watching tomorrow. With a confident look, the new duo agrees, guaranteeing they will pass the preliminary round. Iberia comments that his father must like Itsuki, as he used to invite him to various gatherings. Zumi Menyo explains that due to childhood trauma, Itsuki has a strong reckless streak, but this urge is drastically reduced when there is someone nearby he wants to protect. It was for this reason that he placed his daughter by Itsuki's side. Her mission is to become Itsuki's friend and the person he wants to protect most in the world. Shortly after, the commander reveals that the attack on the school was not an accident but was planned. He states that the number of traitors on the side of the abyss is increasing and the future of humanity looks bleak. But, with a confident look, He emphasizes that Itsuki will definitely illuminate that dark future. He then says that the boy will become a beacon of great hope for all mankind. The scene then shifts to the tournament's preliminary round in the Northern 4th District. Itsuki and Iberia arrived to see the participant count had jumped from 3,000 to 5,000. Faced with this, Rai was annoyed to hear the old man had thrown in another variable. To and RKU noticed the rich kids' allies were all wearing red ribbons to identify each other. Suddenly, a man named Soryo Fuji appeared to explain the rules for the preliminary round. He explained the arena was split into 2 areas, with each participant starting at a different point. The host explained that Phase 1 was a race to a specific area. Rankings would be recorded on arrival, and only the top 500 would advance. The man added that each person could carry 2 tools, and Iberia shot a look at Itsuki. Riku figured out the function of the bracelet. Meanwhile, Seal remarked how cruel it was to eliminate thousands so early. Just then, Riki Noshida appeared with his crew, ordering that no one run ahead of him. Iberia recognized the people she'd hired and began planning a surprise attack for when their guard was down. But Itsuki walked straight toward the group, and the henchman noticed he wasn't wearing a red ribbon. Iberia was completely shocked by her new partner's impulsive move. The host then gave the signal, and the first phase of the tournament began. With all the participants taking off, Soryo commented that it was great to see so many young people wanting to join the alliance. But quantity wasn't everything. A man named Shu Hien mentioned that in the past, there were several participants above level 15. The host recalled that in his year, there were only 2 such competitors, and Jin Taiwa was one of them. Shu then said that without a rookie like Taiwa Jin, things would be boring, and hoped a genius was in this year's crowd. The host replied that a genius like that only appears once every 100 years. But Shu had heard rumors about a certain student. Commander Mendui, who was listening in, finally confirmed the rumors were true. Shaitan grew excited and asked if the student was present. Musing, they must have extraordinary talent. Soryo began to search the participant data, looking for the genius. He saw Riku, but immediately dismissed him, as his gift was only grade 2 and considered ordinary. He soon passed over another, not considering them a candidate because they were a support type. After that, he found a girl named Hana at level 16, a very unusual level for a rookie. Soryo thought he'd found the student in question, but Mendui seemed to disagree. Shaitan then asked if there were any level 0 participants, saying there was always one that caught his eye. Back in the arena, Rai and his henchmen started laughing at Itsuki, calling him a lost little brat. Unfazed, Itsuki activated one of his artifacts, his eyes glowing as he faced the rich kid. Surprised by the young man's attitude, Rai asked with a sly smile, "And who are you supposed to be?" Itsuki gave him a cold look and said, "You were looking for me." Raya couldn't believe a level 0, nobody could take down Oja, and figured someone sent him as a provocation. Filled with anger, he ordered his crew to grab the young man, threatening to make him regret it. Rai shrouded his body in lightning, shouting that he had no time for trivial games with an opponent like Itsuki. His henchmen then surrounded the two, preparing for the fight. One of them sneered, "You can beg for mercy if you want to be spared." Iberia knew she could take one of them, but there was no way Itsuki could fight 4 at once. Facing a critical situation, she prepared to use one of her artifacts. However, Itsuki stopped her. The henchman in front sneered that the first enemy he'd run into was just some level 0 trash. Without wasting a second, Itsuki's expression turned serious as he ordered the man, "Get out of my way!" The henchman was shocked by the young man's audacity, unable to believe what he'd just heard. Soon, he was laughing like a maniac, his colleagues joining in. A man who was defeated earlier liked Itsuki's personality and thought he would save him if needed. The lead henchman then said with a cruel smile that he was going to crack Itsuki's head open to see what was inside. But before he could even move, Itsuki landed a powerful punch right in his opponent's face. With the enemy on the ground, Itsuki repeated with a cold stare, "I told you to get out of the way." The other henchmen were stunned. Itsuki had just taken down someone 7 levels higher than him. They panicked, unable to comprehend what was happening. but one of them brushed it off, calling it just a lucky hit. Enraged, the masked man unleashed a beer rank skill, Flamethrower, to attack. Stunned by the attack's speed, he realized there was no time to use his artifact. The goons muttered that it was overkill, but blamed Itsuki for acting tough as a level 0. However, one of his partners realized something was seriously wrong with this situation. From the flames, Itsuki emerged, shielded by his black ice wall. Iberia was amazed, unable to believe the young man survived such a massive fire explosion. With an icy glare, Itsuki ordered his new partner to stay back and not get in the way of the fight. A status window showed he successfully resisted the beer rank fire skill, and his defense increased by 10%. After that, he wanted to test if the passive of Black Ice Wall would activate against the same skill a second time. The masked henchman was surprised, wondering how he could use ice when there were no water elementalists around. Itsuki challenged him to attack again, saying, "This time, you won't even be left standing." The man thought it was a bluff, but still accepted the challenge. Then, the young man confirmed the promise with a cute expression. He then prepared to finish it all, unleashing his strongest fire ability. But Itsuki remained still, thinking that even though the destructive power had increased, it was still just a fire skill. The opposing team thought he was joking, saying that with such power, the masked man already rivaled at level 8. The masked man had exhausted all his mana, feeling it was a waste to use that attack on a level 0. But he declared that the game was over. A moment later, he was completely shocked, shouting that it was impossible. Itsuki understood that Black Ice Wall's passive doesn't stack when facing the same skill. Once the test was over, he looked at the other two henchmen and said, "It's time to end this foolishness." The muscular man admitted Itsuki's skill was strong, but claimed to have found the young man's weakness. Next, he gathered all his strength and released a beer rank skill called Flame Barrier. However, Itsuki mockingly asked if they planned to win with numbers alone, then activated his Black Ice Wall. A huge, fiery explosion erupted as the fireball slammed into the ice defense. The henchman figured a level 0's mana must be low and planned to drain all his energy to win the fight. Suddenly, as the smoke cleared, the muscular man was shocked to see Itsuki right in front of him. The distance was closed in an instant, and Itsuki noted that the passive only activated once from the fireball attack. The henchman said if his opponent's advantage was speed, then his was physical strength. Itsuki then, with a mocking face, asked if the man was really using his strength. After that sentence, he said he would end this and sent the enemy flying with just one punch. The status window showed his defense only increased by 3 points, and Itsuki realized the calculation is based on his base defense. Seeing the two remaining people, he realized they were both lightning elementalists and intended to use them to level up his skills. With an icy look in his eyes, Itsuki asked if they really thought they could escape from him. 2 henchmen launched the Silver Serpent skill, and one of them shouted that he would drag Itsuki down with him. A status window showed both skills were absorbed, and his agility increased by a total of 10%. As the two lay on the ground, one of them asked, "Who is Itsuki, really?" Because he'd defeated everyone so easily. Itsuki realized that Thunderwave's passive worked the same as his other skill, only activating once per target. Iberia noticed the fallen men and commented that Itsuki had taken them all down. With a huge smile, he said he thought the fight would be difficult and didn't expect Itsuki to be this strong. The first conscious accomplice asked who he was, because he was clearly no level 0. Iberia was also curious about the skills he used. Iberia approached with a sly smile and asked a question that left the young man baffled. The blonde man then stated that together they were a double duo and would be the strongest in the north. Itsuki ignored the chatter and dragged him away, saying they had to go after Kinesita. The blonde man complained the whole way. The still conscious accomplice was confused by the name Doe and felt that it sounded lame. Elsewhere, a man in glasses noticed the commotion, thinking the level 0 was definitely done for by now. But he recognized Charles's beast and decided he needed to investigate it later. In his mind, outside the Alliance, there were not many people in the north who could capture Charles. Another participant took someone down, bragging about his speed, unlike those brutes. Suddenly, the runner was struck by purple lightning, screaming in pain from the unexpected attack. Lying on the ground, he demanded to know who attacked him mid-sprint. The man in glasses then stepped on his head, looking down at him with pure disdain. The man's body crackled with purple lightning. He said this is what happens when you run ahead of him. He then told his group to save their energy and not let losers like that waste their time. In the distance, a woman commented on the arrogance of the District 4 administrator's son. However, since his actions weren't against the rules, there was nothing they could do. The rich kid boasted about his stamina while others paved the way, feeling he could as Ali cleared the tournament's second phase. The scene shifts to a crowd of participants who've reached the inner area, waiting for the next challenge. Rinasita arrived in the inner area, boasting about how easy it was to take first place. Suddenly, a mysterious voice called his name as blue lightning split the sky. The rich kid turned, shocked and disbelieving at the sight before him. His henchmen panicked, and one of them recognized the approaching Level 0 rookie. Amidst the rain, Itsuki and Iberia appeared, leaving them unable to believe their eyes. Ri was shocked, never expecting that just 2 people could have taken out his entire group. With a mocking smile, he claimed his men must have been bribed to let them pass. Iberia knew she only got there because Itsuki took down all the enemies. The rich kid said he was busy and would leave someone to entertain them. Continuing on with a face full of anger, he ordered his remaining henchmen to catch the 2 and finish them. One of the men sneered at Itsuki, saying he'd teach him some manners the hard way. Iberia trembled, seeing at least 100 opponents and not knowing what to do. However, Itsuki calmed him down and, with a serious face, told the blonde kid to just cover his ears. From there, Itsuki released a lightning shockwave that blasted all the surrounding henchmen. The rich kid just watched with a look of disdain, not worried about his lackeys at all. In a single blast, the shockwave sent all the men flying, clearing the path. Bear was shocked by his new partner's strength. Raggy couldn't believe what he was seeing. Our hero then said it seemed his last warning wasn't clear enough for the rich kid. With a cold, determined gaze, Itsuki faced his enemy, vowing not to let him get away. In the distance, Seo and Riku arrived, commenting on the man with the red ribbon who had blocked their path. Riku was surprised. Even though they were fast, it was hard to believe someone was moving even faster. A guy named Gawa was in 3rd place and complaining about his rank. A girl named Hana Hanu was in 1st place, a level 16 rookie. Riku realized Suki was alone and could be ganged up on at any moment. Suddenly, EXO saw someone get thrown into the inner area and was shocked by the scene. The system confirmed Iberia's arrival in the inner area, ranked 6th. Sprawled on the ground, the young blonde shouted Itsuki's name, telling him to hurry. Riku and the others heard their friend's name and were shocked to recognize the figure amidst the chaos, blue lightning crackling around his body. Itsuki stood facing the crowd. There was no doubt it was really him. With a cold expression, he repeated that he wouldn't let the rich kid leave until this was settled. The older man wondered why the rookie was so obsessed with Reinosita. Afterward, Menwazumi asked Shuten to help the students if things got too complicated. Jutan was impressed by the kids' speed, wondering if they themselves were ever that fast. Faced with this situation, Rei, annoyed, told Itsuki to prepare himself. With a sly smile, he said this wasn't a fight, but a one-sided takedown, everyone against one. In other words, a 100 or a 1 beatdown. The scene shows the crowd staring him down, but Itsuki remained focused. For him, passing the preliminary round was secondary. His top priority was to get justice for Aiha. In a rage, Rei shouted, ordering all his men to take the kid down, while the horde of men immediately charged toward Itsuki, who stood alone. One of the masked men shouted that Itsuki's head was his, then launched a fire punch with full power. But Itsuki stopped the attack with just one hand, greatly surprising his opponent. Without wasting a moment, he retaliated with a powerful punch to the masked man's face, who didn't even have time to react. The impact was so powerful that the men were thrown back by the immense force. The other men were silent in shock, but one of them said not to panic. As the numbers were still on their side, the hero looked at them and challenged them to come at him all at once. A system alert showed defense increased by 10%. He said it was time to end this foolishness, and then activated Lotus Burst with all his power. A giant fire explosion erupted, spreading across the arena and hitting every enemy around. Iberia, Riku, and Shia watched in shock as the blonde man asked, "Is that Itsuki's ability?" Elsewhere, a muscular man and a cat-eared girl commented on the incredible explosion. The green-haired girl also observed the situation, sword in hand, her thoughts serious. The announcer was stunned by such power, wondering how he could use skills outside of his own class. And Shu Hayden watched from a distance, finally understanding the source of his confidence on stage. Amidst the billowing dust, Itsuki thought about how he'd only used 30% of his strength. Because his opponents were human, the scene shows all the rich man's men lying on the ground, while the young man stood in the middle of the chaos. With glowing blue eyes, he faced his enemy and said, "Now, it's just the two of us." Ri was terrified, unable to believe Itsuki had defeated 100 people at once, and asked why he kept chasing him. The hero explained that the rich kid attacked him first and injured his best friend, vowing to make him pay dearly. Angrily, Rai boasted that as the heir to the Kinesidus family, it was easy to level up using karma stones. He shouted that they were on different levels, then launched a beer-wank violet thunder cannon. The system detected the enemy's skill and immediately activated, starting an attack analysis. But Itsuki dodged the lightning cannon with incredible speed, surprising his opponent. On the ground, the rich kid couldn't believe the attack was dodged, realizing he had no chance of winning. In a panic, he shouted for someone named Fort to save him. A red-eyed man appeared, thinking that this action was against the rules, but he no longer cared about what people thought. Ri smirked, revealing the man was a level 35 awakened, and ordered him to take down Itsuki. From above, Shuhaten called out to someone named Hin, giving a thumbs up. Itsuki's senses flared as he noticed someone approaching at high speed. As the analysis continued, he realized it wasn't just one person. A brute was darting towards him. The man landed hard, sending dust flying, but the hero was unfazed by the sudden appearance. With a calm expression, he simply observed the situation unfold, showing no fear. Shuhaten appeared and knocked out the figure called Fori with a single punch, and then told the young man to finish what he'd started. Purple lightning surrounded his body. Itsuki turned to the rich kid and said his time was up. In desperation, Rai tried to use his family name to threaten Itsuki and save himself. However, the young man didn't care and attacked without mercy, making the rich kid scream in pain. Then fell, looking at the fallen figure. He said with a cold stare that this was for everything he did to Waha. From a distance, a blue-haired woman watched the scene. Then her face turned completely red, watching the young man's actions. Her father commented that he had defeated Ri and asked why she was looking at him now. The skill analysis reached 99%, and he paused to recover his stamina. Suddenly, a familiar voice calling Itsuki's name caught his attention. With a surprised expression, he immediately recognized the voice and turned toward its source. The voice belonged to Sha and Riku, who had finally arrived to find their friend. With a warm smile, Zio told him to come inside quickly as it was raining heavily. With tears in his eyes, Riku worried that Suki would get sick from the rain. Itsuki remarked it had been a long time since he had seen her. As the system announced, he was now ranked 7th in the arena. Suddenly, Riku and Iberia hugged him, crying that they missed him and were happy to see he was okay. Riku glared at the blonde man, lightning in his eyes, and demanded to know who he was to be sticking so close to Itsuki. With a confident pose, Iberia introduced herself as the hero's partner, surprising everyone. Riku immediately calls him a traitor, and CO comments, "It's rare for Itsuki to make friends like this." Iberia asks, "Do you two have a duo name?" Rikura replies that he's not a kid who would think of something like that. Riku says of course they have a name, and Iberia, with a challenging smile, asks him what it is. The hero tries to stop him, but the blonde man shouts that their duo name is Double I, admitting it was hard to come up with. Riku starts laughing and says the name sounds lame. This angers Iberia, who continues to be teased. The host announces that 500 participants have arrived while others have been eliminated, and the second phase will soon begin. He explains that in the second phase, participants will fight beasts alone for 1 hour in the arena. Iberia is scared when she hears about fighting alone. The other participants watch silently. From above, Xuan looks excited and says he can't wait to see the rookie's abilities. The screen displays the first phase rankings with Hanu in first place, Shen in second, and Jiyu in third. Everyone looks up at the giant arena where the tournament's second phase is finally taking place. The group joins the crowd and Iberia asks, "Is that really where the next stage is?" Riku comments that it's dark and then asks his friend if his level really remained at 0, which he confirms. He then asks how the young man could possibly get stronger. Iberia was also curious, but Seo quickly rebukes Riku, reminding him that the Order Breaker's skills are a secret and not to interfere. From above, the tournament organizers observe the participants, preparing to make a big announcement. Iberia is completely shocked to see the important figures present to oversee the event. Everyone recognizes Saria veteran Hayino as well as the legendary Azumi menu. It is truly a formidable gathering. The host explains that in the second phase, participants will fight against different beasts for points according to the difficulty level. The screen shows beginner as 100 points, normal as 500, hard as 1000, and nightmare as 5000. After each victory, participants will have a 1-minute break before advancing to the next level. Gakuya announces he will go straight to Nightmare mode, and his level 13 stats are displayed on the screen. Itsuki then raises his hand and calmly says he has a question. The other participants mock him, saying he was only carried before and is now afraid to fight alone. The host invites the young man to ask his question, saying he's free to speak. Faced with this, Itsuki asks with a faint smile if Nightmare class is the highest difficulty level. Shuhaiden finds the boy's question both bold and interesting. The other participants mock him again, saying a level 0 couldn't even beat beginner mode. The host explains that there is no upper limit, and that he'll understand once he faces the Nightmare beast. Riku says there's no point thinking about it, as Nightmare class is equivalent to level 10, and they'd be lucky if they could beat hard. The host then adds that points from this phase count towards the main tournament and the chance to join an alliance. The group is shocked by this news, and Seo knows she must seize this opportunity to stand out. Itsuki remembers Taiwa Jin's record of 115,000 points and decides to surpass it. The host then orders everyone to enter the arena and prepare for battle. The second phase begins, and Itsuki comments that this place isn't much different from the other stages. Suddenly, 10 level 1 Calamity Hounds appear, and he feels excited to face the beast. He activates Black Ice Wall and declares that he'll finish this quickly, since such opponents don't increase stats. In the control room, the host asks if Shuhaiden is monitoring the boy again, and he replies with a smile that he wants to see the girl named Hanu. Shuhaiden remarks that Itsuki is much more interesting to watch. Nahedin seems excited and says, "Here he goes again." The host asks if he's always this easily surprised. With one attack, Itsuki takes down all the hounds in 1 second, instantly gaining 100 points. The host is surprised because it usually takes a few minutes, and Shuhaiden says he warned him the boy was interesting. He argues that the hounds are only level 1 and the next enemy is level 8, so one attack won't be enough. Shortly after, a level 8 salamander appears, worth a total of 500 points. The host thinks the guys will struggle against a creature 8 levels higher, but Shaiten disagrees. He switches to the multi-screen, and a GA realizes his father is distracting Itsuki on purpose. The host notes that most contestants are still on beginner-level monsters. The scene cuts to XO, and another fighter easily handling the first wave. The only one matching Itsuki's pace is a green-haired girl known as the all-powerful Hanakana. Suddenly, panic erupts as it looks like something terrible is happening to the young fighters in the arena. Itsuki is completely engulfed by the salamander's flames, and the atmosphere becomes incredibly tense. The host is about to call the medical team, but Shuton stops him, telling him to wait a moment. Itsuki protects himself with a black ice wall, and ice armor instantly forms around his body. Fully armored, he dashes forward and cleaves the salamander in two with a sharp ice blade. The host is stunned. It only took 5 seconds for him to earn 500 points. With the creature down, the screen confirms his time and new score. The man wonders why the kid would intentionally take a hit when he could have won instantly. The screen shows a 10% increase in defense. Itsuki thinks he must take every chance to get stronger. His score is displayed. His defense is now at 434, for a total of 1,395 points. Wasting no time, Itsuki skips the rest of his break, ready to test his defense once more. The host explains that this difficulty level is a test of the participant's speed and combat instincts. The next monster appears, a level 10 electric rhino, worth 1,000 kill points. The host explains that if the horns connect, a player would be pierced instantly without enough defense. Otherwise, the lightning would paralyze them, making movement impossible. To win, participants must evade until the opponent tires out. However, the host is baffled, wondering what Itsuki is planning. Faced with the beast, Itsuki calmly approaches and touches its horns. With a slight smile, he remarks that the horns are perfect for another defense test. At that, the electric rhino prepares to charge with full force. A lightning aura envelops its body as the creature charges, its horns crackling with electricity. Meanwhile, Itsuki stands perfectly still in the path of the attack. The powerful impact sends him flying. However, a bluish aura protects him from serious harm. In the control room, a terrified AJ screams Itsuki's name. Shaitan comments with a smile that the boy's actions are truly unpredictable, but he adds that every time, the kid delivers results beyond anyone's imagination. The screen shows that Itsuki has absorbed the skill, and his agility has increased by 5% thanks to Thunderwave. With his eyes glowing red, Itsuki faces the creature and declares, "Time to end this." He then activates Thunderwave, and his agility instantly surges by 50%. Enraged by the youth's audacity, the rhino attacks again with all its might. Itsuki dodges with incredible speed, zipping past the creature. Wasting no time, he leaps onto his opponent's back and finishes it with Ice Blade, earning 1,000 points in just 7 seconds. Juton remarks that the kid is even faster than he was at that age. And he's not even using his full power yet. The announcer's voice turns grave as he introduces the next creature, the one everyone fears most. With swift movements and sharp claws, this monster can dispatch its foes in the blink of an eye. The creature also possesses a giant maw that spews iron chains, swallowing anything in its path. Additionally, its massive body is covered in an incredibly tough exoskeleton. The announcer explains that these abilities make it the strongest and most ferocious beast in the preliminaries. The screen displays the foe, a level 15 purgatory giant worth 5,000 kill points. Without hesitation, Itsuki activates his true piercing spear and attacks. The system confirms the monster's defeat, and the cipher speed increases by 200%. In the control room, the announcer and Shuten are completely floored by the instant victory. The screen shows the cipher's speed is now 9m/deck, a 900% increase. They can't believe it only took 3 seconds, and Itsuki is already preparing for the next round. The scene shifts to Riku, who is also battling a creature with powerful fire breath. Exo activates Water Bullet, noting he'll advance if he defeats the last 2 opponents. Goku fights on, confident he'll be the first to reach normal class. The camera confirms Nightmare class has been cleared in 21 seconds, putting him in first place. Hanahanu has conquered the normal class and is now recovering her mana before the next fight. Sayaku and Hana wonder who's faster, and the girl is certain it's Itsuki. Back in the arena, Itsuki stood over the fallen monster, declaring he would continue. In the control room, the announcer couldn't believe the young man was able to defeat a level 15 giant with a single attack. With a sly smile, Shuen ordered them to increase the difficulty, eager to see how far the boy could go. The screen announced a face-off with two giants, and Gaku thought they were simply increasing the number of opponents. The two giant creatures charged toward the young man with all their might. The screen confirmed one giant had fallen and that the SFAR's speed boost had reached 1,100%. Itsuki was shocked, wondering if the SFAR even had a limit. Shuhaiten explained that while powerful, the young man's abilities had a critical flaw. The remaining giant shot toward Itsuki at incredible speed. He was shocked, realizing the creature's speed surpassed all previous opponents. A staff member in the control room explained that many people mistakenly think Jin are slow due to their massive size. In fact, despite their size, they are incredibly fast and agile. The screen displayed that the creature had no mana, possessing significantly higher stats instead. Itsuki prepared another Sephir to hit the target before it was too late. The attack landed and the screen displayed 300 for agility and defense stats. Surprisingly, the giant managed to dodge the Sephir, leaving Itsuki completely shocked. In the control room, they realized the Sephir was moving too slowly, and the young man used the creature's roar as an opening. If his attack speed wasn't increased, he wouldn't be able to advance to the next stage. The monster landed a blow. Itsuki narrowly avoided it, but the impact created several shockwaves across the arena floor. The impact was so powerful that it kicked up a large cloud of dust and tore up the surrounding area. Faced with this, Itsuki realized he could dodge the attacks, but needed to change tactics to win. Shuhaiten thought that if the young man kept using skills he knew would miss, he would run out of tricks. However, with a sharp smile, Itsuki declared that if the creature was fast, he would just have to close the distance. He activated Thunder Wave, wreathing his body in lightning to increase his speed. The two dashed towards each other, and the giant prepared a devastating blow. The impact struck the ground, creating a large crater. But Itsuki pressed forward through the chaos. In the control room, a terrified Aya covered his mouth with his hand. The announcer panicked, shouting that the attack was too powerful and ordering a rescue team to be called. However, Shuhaiten quickly stopped him, calmly urging him to wait a little longer. He acknowledged that Giant's strength was indeed extraordinary, but it seemed the young man still had a plan. After all, great power means nothing if it can't hit its target. The monster prepared to attack again, striking the ground with all its might. Suddenly, Itsuki taunted the creature, getting its attention. The giant turned, shocked to see the young man already right in front of him, aiming for the back of its head. Itsuki launched a Sephir at close range, the attack striking the monster's head with full force. Wreathed in lightning, a determined Itsuki faced the giant as it began to fall. The giant lay defeated, and the screen confirmed the victory. The Cypher's speed had increased to 1,300%. Otsuki gained 10,000 points in 12 seconds. In the control room, the announcer and Shuhaiten watched the fallen monster. With a relieved smile, Shuhaiten celebrated, shouting the young man's name with joy. The announcer commented that it was rare to see him so excited, causing the girl beside him to blush. She shyly said she was only praying for everyone's safety and hadn't done anything special. The announcer noted she had become much more talkative since the last time they met. Shuhaiten then asked why Itsuki kept dodging if he could have won from the start. He explained that Itsuki's normal speed wasn't much different from the Purgatory Giant's. However, once electricity began flowing through his body, his speed increased dramatically. From that point on, there was no way the Purgatory Giant's attacks could hit him. The announcer stated that with the points he had earned, first place was assured. However, Itsuki didn't stop. With a determined look, he thought that to surpass the strongest, he couldn't stop even for a second. He stepped forward, preparing for the next phase that was already beginning before him. The screen announced the third phase. 3 giants were preparing to fight. He activated his SF and lunging at one of the monsters declared, "That's one down." Shaytoon remarked that, as expected, the boy chose to continue and was truly the one. He recalled reaching Phase 4, which piqued the host's curiosity. The man mentioned that even with his physique, Phase 3 was the limit, and wondered how the boy would survive. The last gen charged forward and Itsuki prepared to dodge and counter. He dodged the blow, which struck the ground hard, sending dust and rocks flying. Using Thunder Wave, his agility surged as he zipped behind the creature, closing the distance instantly. The screen confirmed the second monster's defeat, and Cypher's speed increased to 1,700%. With a calm look, he turned and stated that the third monster would be a different challenge. The third giant opened its massive maw, attempting to swallow Itsuki whole. The creature stared at the young man, its eyes glowing red as chains flew out in all directions. With its enormous body and armor, the monster was a formidable foe. However, Itsuki declared he would destroy it from within, activating Lotus Burst at maximum power. He launched a full-power fire attack straight into the giant's face without a hint of hesitation. The skill exploded with immense power, and the system confirmed the defeat of the level 15 creature. In 13 seconds, he scored another 15,000 points, and the screen flashed an incredible new record. In the control room, the host was in complete shock, unable to believe what he had just witnessed. He then recognized the fire skill, noting that the same attack had eliminated many participants in the first phase. The attack had left his mana tank completely empty. Yet, Itsuki knew his passive mana skill would fully recharge as long as monsters kept appearing. The screen announced Phase 4 with 4 giants, and his mana instantly jumped to 124. Shayton realized that if the boy passed this, he would surpass him, as only the Taiwa genie had ever reached this stage. With a faint smile, he said he couldn't wait to see how far the kid would go. Itsuki considered that the faster the SAR moved, the higher its accuracy would be on the final target. He figured if the speed increased a few more times, the attack could reach the creature from a distance. However, his mana was limited and he couldn't waste a single shot of his piercing sphere. Suddenly, one of the giants roared, firing several chains from its mouth at the young man. Faced with the sudden attack, Itsuki readied his Zephyr, but the monster was faster. The boy was shocked, not expecting the creature could use chains. The chains bound his body and the giant slammed him mercilessly onto the arena floor. The impact was so powerful that Itsuki was sent reeling. Trapped, he realized he was unable to move and was in a terrible spot. The giant then slammed its giant hand down, trying to end it all at once. The pressure was so immense his body began to crumble. The monster retreated, surveying the damage to the arena floor. Lying in the crater, Itsuki was grievously injured. The fight seemed over. In the control room, the announcer panicked, shouting for Shayton to help the boy. With a worried expression, Shayton asked, "Is this really the end for Itsuki?" He remembered his past, saying the scene was exactly as he had experienced it before. Shayton prepared to move, but the commander stopped him, telling him to wait a moment. With a calm expression, Menazumi stated that Itsuki hadn't given up yet. The announcer only grew more anxious. Panicked, he said that if he wasn't saved now, the boy would be finished. However, the commander assured him he still had a hidden card to turn the tables. The white-haired man asked, "How can you be so sure?" The commander replied that the answer was in his eyes. Itsuki's eyes shone with determination, completely unwilling to accept defeat. A blue aura enveloped his body. He activated overarms and resumed the analysis he had paused. He remembered the fight against REA in analyzing the Violet Thunder Cannon skill. He had deliberately stopped the analysis at 99% to use it. For a moment, just like this, the analysis reached 100% and a blue aura enveloped his entire body. A screen in the control room confirmed the acquisition of Thunder Wave and Blue Lotus. The woman with glasses asked, "Did you already know about this?" Shayton was shocked by the scene. The screen showed the skill could absorb beer rank lightning attacks and increase agility by 100%. Additionally, 20 points are added to all stats and all debuffs are cleared. the Blue Lotus erupted as Itsuki prepared to show his new power. His body was covered in a blue aura. He announced the warm-up was over and the real fight was about to begin. The host was stunned because the stats were unbelievable and his recovery was faster than a healer's. From there, he took down 2 giants at once using spar and increased attack speed. In 31 seconds, Phase 4 ended, and 20,000 points were achieved with a confident look. Another giant went down as his speed continued to increase without stopping. The screen showed the current speed was 27 m per second, with a bonus of 2,700%. Without giving them a chance, Phase 5 ended in 57 seconds, earning him 25,000 points. Shortly after, Phase 6 was also completed in 1 minute and 34 seconds, adding another 30,000 points. Everyone was silent, unable to say a word at the spectacle. Sitting on a pile of fallen giants, Itsuki asked himself, is this some kind of nightmare? And who is the real monster here? Lying on the ground, he wondered aloud why no more giants were appearing for the next phase. The host admitted he'd never imagined a situation like this and was completely stunned. With trembling hands, he prepared to press the large red button on the panel. Faced with this reality, the man announced in a serious voice that the challenge was over for Itsuki.